Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Sports Hub. I'm Jake Sennholz, and joining me today, to my left, Malik Jackson, to my right, Michael Wengrzyn. Guys, the snow is gone, and the playoffs are fully in bloom. How is your weekend been?
Well, it's been quite a long week. I think it feels like I've been dragging a weight along this past couple weeks, but we're getting closer. We're only a month away from the end of the semester, and I'm hoping to power through the rest of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mike. The snow is gone, Jake, but it rained and it keeps raining and it keeps raining, and I'm just like, come on, just let the sun come out and give us the 70 degrees that we're really hoping for here. So
it was here for like one day, about 2 days ago, and now it's just back to raining and miserable outside.
Yeah, so. Exactly, man.
Terrible weather.
Exactly. So on this episode, we'll be talking about Tiger Woods, the NHL playoffs, the Green Bay Packers, and the NBA playoffs. All right, guys, let's dive right into it. The biggest news of the week and possibly the greatest sports comeback we have ever seen. Tiger Woods did what so many people thought would be impossible. He won another major, and this wasn't just any major. It was the freaking Masters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tiger posted a round of 2 under on Sunday, giving him a total of 13 under on the weekend, which was just good enough to edge out second-place finishers Xander Schauffele, Brooks Koepka, and Dustin Johnson, who all finished 12 under. Defending champion Patrick Reed finished his weekend at 2 under. So guys, this was Tiger's first major victory since 2008. He now has 15 major victories, 5 of them being green jackets. Mm-hmm. So I'll be the first to admit that I was way wrong about Tiger's chances to win this last week. I really was, but that's not what we're talking about here. That's not so. A lot of people already consider him the greatest golfer of all time, right? So the only other player that has more victories than him is Jack Nicklaus. 18 overall major victories, 6 Masters green jackets. Mm-hmm. So now that Tiger has gotten this first major victory out of the way, do you guys believe he has the potential to break both of Jack's records?
Well, first of all, let's talk about a perfect storm here. Tiger Woods, probably the most famous golfer ever. The most recognized golfer too, in probably not only just the game of golf, but also one of the most recognized athletes in the world. Period. For him to come back, the way that he did, with this story, so of course, we all know what did off the course, but again, with all the injuries and stuff like that he had to go through, fight his way back to change up his game, find the Tiger that he once used to be, and now finally with another championship. Major championship now in his accolades, 5th Masters championship now. It's unbelievable, like just looking at the whole situation. We never thought we'd see anything like that again.
Were you able to watch him this weekend?
Yeah, I was definitely tuned in. I wanted to see that final round, finally see the moment where it happened, where he clinched the Masters and, able to celebrate, with everybody just going nuts. But, going back to, him just, again, alongside with Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Ben Hogan, a lot of great golfers during that time, have had great success and, have been very well recognized. You got to also take a look, too. Tiger has had probably the most beautiful game, I think, out of any golfer we've ever seen before. And, again, I don't think most of us were expecting him to ever come back to the way that he played before 2009, 2010. But he did it, He changed up his game. He changed up the way that he putted on the greens, and he had some really great shots too, on some of those holes that, can be quite a challenge to a lot of other golfers. But it's been quite an achievement to see Tiger get back to this form, and I think other golfers should watch out.
Yeah, everything obviously that he's fought through. I mean, put that all aside, just the physical injuries and the surgeries he's battled through would make you not believe the story that we've seen play out in front of us with Tiger Woods. Malik, were you able to catch any of the tournament this weekend and give us a little bit of your thoughts?
Yeah, I watched a whole bunch of stuff going on in Augusta, and I mean, when you went through the first 2 days on Thursday and Friday, he wasn't even in the top realm of the leaderboard. There was a whole bunch of other players who were at -7 going into the weekend, into Saturday and Sunday. So a lot of people didn't even see Tiger winning the tournament. They kind of writ him off, but he was hanging in there. He was right there. And I mean, like you said, Jake, him being in the contest with I mean, going through all of those surgeries, having an ACL surgery, having multiple back surgeries, but him just sticking to his grind. And of course, he's not going to be the same Tiger Woods that we saw back in 2006, the Tiger Woods that we saw back in 2000, 2001, 2002. He was the best golfer, and he was outstanding. He was crushing the competitors. And I mean, when you talk about his personality, people wanted to cry after watching him get this 5th green jacket.
Oh, many people did.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was just so amazing to see the atmosphere, the crowd, the roar. And I mean, when you look at him, he wasn't excited until that last putt went into the hole on the last of the 18. He was just not ready for it because he, probably in his mind, he really didn't even think that he had a chance to win, but he was actually in contention the entire time for the last 2 days. So I really think that, it was a great performance by him, but not just for him. It was a great performance for golf in general because Tiger Woods is golf, if you really think about it. I mean, the excitement that he brings to the course, they changed so many golf courses because of Tiger Woods. He is the phenomenon of golf, and it was just amazing to see him come out and do such a spectacular job.
Yeah, and you bring up that leaderboard too. You look at the guys who were up there throughout the entire weekend. Francesco Molinari, Brooks Koepka, Alexander Schauffele. Those guys were also, they also had the chance to win. They were right up there too. Molinari had that little bit of a meltdown there on the final day. But again, this was all Tiger. What we saw on Sunday was that same Tiger Woods that we had seen, in years past before on Sunday at the Masters. This is something, again, too, that we probably didn't think we would ever see again for a very long time. And for Tiger to come out and, be right there right up there in the leaderboard from the start, this is something that, this probably couldn't have been scripted any other better way.
Well, and it's not like we saw Tiger come out and really blow everybody away on Sunday. He only shot -2, but just as you said, Malik, and you as well, Michael, he did what he had to do. He kept himself at the top of the leaderboard and kept himself in contention. So with that in mind, I'm going to circle back to what I originally asked. Does he have the potential? Well, obviously the potential, but does he have the ability? Will he break Jack Nicklaus's records real quick? He needs, obviously, 3 more major championships and 1 more of those being at Augusta to tie or break both of Jack's records.
Well, Tiger Woods, for his age, he's 43 years old, obviously. He's still got that same kind of flair that he had 10 years ago, but he's, again, it's not like he's 21 years old and he's blowing the competition away. Jack Nicklaus has 18 majors all time. Tiger has now 15 on his total, but I would say Tiger's got about 2 to 3 more years left of that same kind of golf that we saw this past weekend in the Masters. So, he's really going to have to come out and play his best, in every single tournament or whatever in the majors. So, I think he gets to Nicklaus's record, but I don't think he breaks it. I think he'll get to about 16, 17, maybe win 1 more Masters, but I don't think he's going to break Jack Nicklaus's record. It's too late for this point.
Okay, so you've got him maybe 2, maybe 3 more majors overall, not breaking Nicklaus's record.
Potentially tie. I would say
tie
he ties him, but I don't think he breaks the
Sure,
record.
he would need 4 to break it, and that's a pretty busy couple of years if you're only giving him 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah.
What do you think, Malik, real quick?
I think that it really goes with, like you said, Michael, it goes with if he's healthy or not. And winning another Masters in Augusta, it gives you the confidence, definitely, that Tiger needs to, have the confidence in himself to actually chase Jack Nicklaus. And he did say when he was a little boy, you saw the Just Do It ad by Nike. At the end of it, he said that he wanted to pass Jack Nicklaus, and that was a goal of his. So winning another green jacket and then hugging his kid at the end of it, it gives him a type of motivation to go out and do it again. Because he, like Kobe Bryant, a lot of, when you have kids coming in at the later stages of your career and they're actually older and they're actually being able to see what you're doing to be successful, you really want to do it for your kids because at the end of the day, they're the ones that's going to remember it, and that's your family. You want to do it for them. So it's a possibility, but I think it goes with health. And I'm not going to be in the heat of the moment right now and say, like, he's going to be the top tier. You got Dustin Johnson. You have Ricky
There's
Fowler.
a lot of names up there.
A lot of names.
There's
a lot of names.
But there's
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
reasons
definitely.
for Tiger to keep going on this comeback
That's
as well.
true.
So
yeah.
after a quick
Possible.
commercial break, we will be back with the NHL playoffs and the Green Bay Packers.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Welcome back. With the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs first round underway, some early departures have the hockey world shook. The Tampa Bay Lightning, who won the President's Trophy in the regular season with 62 victories, got eliminated by the Columbus Blue Jackets in just 4 games. That's called a sweep, folks. Prior to this, the Blue Jackets had never even won a playoff series. The Pittsburgh Penguins also unfortunately got eliminated in 4 games, losing to the New York Islanders. The Colorado Avalanche took a 3-1 lead in their series last night with an overtime victory against the Calgary Flames. So guys, back to the Lightning and the Blue Jackets for a minute. Have we ever seen a more surprising result in the history of the Stanley Cup?
I really don't think so. I mean, when you talk about a team that just was dominating every single team in the league during the regular season, having registered 62 victories, tying a Edmonton Oilers record for the most wins in a regular season. I mean, it's just crazy. They had, 128 points in the regular season? That is just crazy that they lost and got swept. They didn't win one game. You have home court advantage, and to go down there to the Amalie Arena and just completely just lay an egg like that.
Not even take one at home.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I want to give big credit to the Blue Jackets for coming out and showing some type of dominance. I mean, they really showed their character, and with John Tortorella being on the helm and having an amazing goalie, like you attested to a whole bunch of times, Jake, it's about having a good backbone, having that spine and a goalie, and he stopped a whole bunch of shots, but I really feel bad for the Tampa Bay Lightning fans, coming off of a Stanley Cup. They lost in the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. They always make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Last year they made it and went to get through 7 games with the Washington Capitals. It just sucks, But yeah, I think that, like you said, this is one of the craziest and most shocking sweeps that we've ever seen in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
One of the most shocking, but also if you're a Blue Jackets fan, one of the most wonderful things and wonderful series that you've ever seen. Michael, what happened to the Lightning here?
Well, the Lightning just, I don't know if necessarily using John Cooper's words exactly is that they didn't show up. It's just that they didn't play. Like, they weren't the same team that they were in the regular season. The playoffs are a whole new season. Everybody's slate is cleaned. The 62 wins and the 128 points, they don't matter at all in the playoffs. It's about
Obviously,
how you can win. You have to obviously get in the playoffs. You have to have a good enough. You have to have a good team to get into the playoffs, but you have to have that same kind of momentum and ability to win in the playoffs. And the Lightning didn't even do that. This is similar to we'll talk about this later with the Packers, but them going 15-1 and not winning their playoff game. This is kind of like what that situation feels like. The Lightning, they've been kind of on the downhill, I think, ever since they lost the Stanley Cup Finals 4 years ago to the Blackhawks. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and the Caps just blew them out of the water. And this year, the Blue Jackets, I wouldn't count them out at all in going forward into the postseason. But
obviously not now.
But I think some serious changes have to happen to the Lightning organization. Maybe starting off with their head coach. Maybe it's time for John Cooper to find a new organization, because they're not going to win with him definitely at the helm.
I'm really glad that you said that, Michael. That was going to be my next curveball question to you guys. I mean, this is a team that lost 1 game in the month of December. Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask, do you think there needs to be a coaching change? I mean, obviously, we've seen it in the NFL, the NBA, other leagues. You can have success in the regular season, but if you don't in the postseason, We just saw it in Toronto in the NBA last year when they fired their coach of the year. So, Malik, do you agree with Michael? Should there be a coaching change down in Tampa Bay?
I mean, John Cooper, I mean, he's a phenomenal coach. He produces a lot of wins, but if you're not winning in the playoffs when it counts, I totally agree, Mike. Something has to change, and the organization needs something else. And if that has to do, I mean, you look at all of their players that they have, they're very talented. You have such a deep, you have 4 deep lines, and then you have a blue line with Victor Hedman. So it's like, what is going on? You have these players set in place. I think that you're right, Mike. They have to probably change the coach. And John Cooper, he has to take the blame for this. I mean, you said that he said that they didn't come out and play hard enough, but that starts with you. That starts with the coach. John Tortorella, he made sure that the Columbus Blue Jackets came out and played a heck of a game in every single game, and they did, and they got the win. So, I mean, they came back. They were up in game 1. The Lightning were up 3-0. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets came back and won.
That completely changed the momentum of the series, too, as well.
Exactly. So, and like you said, too, Mike, I believe that with them winning this series, you're beating the best team in the league. That gives you so much confidence to go out this Stanley Cup playoffs, and it doesn't matter who's in your way.
So a lot to look forward to for us as fans and also media people to see what happens with that Tampa Bay team.
Definitely.
Real quick, a couple surprise sweeps. Do you guys see any of these series going 7 games?
Yeah, I think Nashville and Dallas, I think, has the potential to go 7 games. Very good series so far. Hope to see it go all the way to 7.
Nashville,
I
Dallas?
totally agree. Yeah, Nashville and Dallas. I actually thought that the Preds were going to, I thought they were going to get them up out of there in 5 games, but Tyler Seguin and the crew, they are not going out like that, so we shall see.
Yeah, I also think the Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins are also going to go 7.
That should go to 7,
might
too.
always,
I hope that does as well.
Yep.
All right, last night, the NFL released the full schedule. Most of it was released early on Twitter, but all 32 teams now have their schedules officially released. The Packers' schedule is one of the more unique ones, as they play 5 of their first 7 games at home and have 5 primetime matchups as well. Notable matchups this season include a trip to Dallas in Week 5, a Sunday night matchup in Week 8 against Kansas City against those dangerous Chiefs, and then 3 consecutive division games in the final 3 weeks of the regular season. So the Packers' schedule isn't one of the tougher schedules this year, especially compared to their schedule last year. But guys, after looking over this a little bit, do you think Green Bay will be able to win 10 games, and do you think that that's going to be good enough for the playoffs? Mike, what do you think?
Well, Jake, you and I are obviously, the Packer fans here on this show right here. With the whole situation, you look at last year's schedule. Like the Packers, I believe, had one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. They had to go. There was 3 consecutive weeks where they were playing on the road at Seattle, at the Rams, and then at the Patriots. That stretch of the season, and they lost all 3 games. That can really put a huge hole in your boat going forward through the rest of the season. This year it's a little bit different because they start out again 5 games at home through the first 7 games. 3 games consecutively at home as well. So there's plenty of opportunities to get that home field, have that advantage at home, and win. But again, there's not really like teams or parts of the schedule that really stand out to me as being really tough. Obviously, you got Dallas. We got to travel down to Dallas again. That's going to be a huge game, obviously nationally televised. Sunday night in Kansas City, one of the toughest places to play against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's going to be a real tough stretch, I think, where the Packers are on the road, where they have to go out and play, against like the Chiefs and the Chargers and stuff like that, who are kind of on the uprise as well. It's going to be interesting because then December is going to be very different, as they only have 2 home games in December. But I do agree, though, that they can win 10 games, but it's going to really come down to a little bit of help as well, because the NFC is obviously a tougher conference to get into the playoffs than the AFC for sure.
Definitely.
And that's a huge point. When you play 5 of your first 7 at home, that means a lot of your games later in the season, when the weather gets bad and everything else, it gets to be away, or you are away. So that's something to consider. Malik, I know this isn't a Falcons question, but what do you see for the Packers this year? Do you see them getting 10 wins, winning the winning
NFC
the
North?
division? Yeah, the NFC North. What do you see potentially?
I just don't see them winning 10 games. I think that the NFC North is one of the toughest conferences now, with the Bears having Khalil Mack and having that. coming into effect, and then the Vikings are also good. I just think that these teams in the NFC North are really stacked. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a phenomenal quarterback. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks that I've ever seen. Ball placement, maybe the best ever. So, I mean, when you talk about that and you talk about the 5 games out of 7 in the beginning being at home, yes, that is really good. But at the same time, Lambeau Field, you know, in the second half of the season, being in Lambeau Field when it's during the wintertime and it's snowing outside, it's more so an advantage for them. So having all of the home games in the beginning of the season, that might come to haunt them at the end of the day. But
you know, like last year, like I believe us 3 had the privilege of going to that December home game against the Falcons, your Falcons obviously, and you know, it was cold during that game. Like, you know, that's one of the things that makes Lambeau Field so special. It's known as the frozen tundra, and only 2 home games in December isn't really a huge benefit to them. Obviously, you know, they're going to have to play, you know, one of those last 3 division games at home against the Bears, but, you know, then you got to go on the road for the final 2 games of the season. But it's not necessarily going to be a strong lead up into it as well if the Packers are not winning games, you know, if they're not staying healthy as well. You know, this was a huge problem for them last season, was that they did not have guys that could stay healthy. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers played the whole season with a fracture, you know, so it's going to really come down to the health of the number 12, and of course the direction that first-year head coach Matt LaFleur takes with this team as they play the schedule out this year.
I love talking about these Packers. There's so much up in the air. We really just don't know. So I want a definite answer from both of you guys. Regardless, 10 wins or not, does this Packers team this year make the playoffs? Yes or no?
Obviously, you know, I usually like to have a lot of optimism about Green Bay. I think they do. You know, they probably won't be considered a Super Bowl contender, but I think they can make the playoffs with 10 wins. I can foresee it this season.
All right, mark it down. Mike has got the Packers in the playoffs. What do you think, Malik?
I don't think that the Green Bay Packers make the playoffs. The NFC is just way too stacked, and the competition is just too rigorous, man. It's really hard.
And we're going to have a lot more time to continue this debate later in the year. So after our final commercial break, we'll be back, talk a little NBA playoffs.
UW-Stevens Point is home.
It's a university where professors know your name and get you involved in research.
They inspire us to realize big dreams.
At UW-Stevens Point, sustainability is what we stand for.
Our beautiful campus encourages exploration, developing new fields, and problem solving for the real world.
It's a great place to launch your career.
UW-Stevens Point is home.
Apply today at uwsp.edu.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Welcome back to the Sports Hub right here on SBTV. I'm Jacob Sennholz. Again with me, Malik Jackson, Michael Wengrzyn. The 2019 NBA playoffs are just under a week old, and we have already had some interesting things happen in a couple of the series. In the Eastern Conference, the number 3 seeded Philadelphia 76ers are surprisingly tied at 1 game apiece with the 6th seeded Brooklyn Nets, who stole Game 1 against the 76ers with a strong performance from their star D'Angelo Russell. The 2nd-seeded Toronto Raptors are also tied at 1 game apiece with the 7th-seeded Orlando Magic, who took Game 1 with a game-winning 3 with 3.4 seconds left in the game. The number 1-seeded Bucks and the 4th-seeded Celtics both lead their respective series 2-0. The Western Conference, on the other hand, is a lot more interesting. With the number 1-seeded Golden State Warriors are shockingly tied at 1 game apiece with the 8th-seeded Los Angeles Clippers, who completed a 31-point comeback, the largest in postseason history, in Game 2 to shock the Warriors on their home court. The number 2-seeded Denver Nuggets are also tied at 1 game apiece with the 7th-seeded San Antonio Spurs, who won 1 game in Denver. The 3-seeded Portland Trailblazers and the 4th-seeded Houston Rockets both lead their respective series 2-0. So guys, a lot of action going on. We have seen 2 games played in each one of these series now. And there have been a lot of at least a few surprises. One of them being the Warriors blowing that 31-point lead to the Clippers. The other one, the Nets upsetting the 76ers in their first game. So what has really surprised you most this postseason? And maybe more importantly, have you seen anything to indicate that possibly this is the year the Warriors are going to go down?
Yeah, the Warriors are very vulnerable this year. I mean, you talk about even going back to the regular season. I know it's the postseason. We're 2 games in for their series with the Los Angeles Clippers. But when you go back to the regular season, they had 6 wins in Oracle Arena where they lost by 20-plus points. And they had 2 of those games which were over 30 points that they lost at home. And that's just uncharacteristic for this Warriors team with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant. So, I mean, they're very vulnerable this year. I think a lot of people are overlooking it. And even for them to blow a 31-point lead at Oracle again to this Los Angeles Clippers team, it just shows that they're not that as focused as they might have been for the previous years coming into this season, going into the postseason. I think that they're getting a little bit too comfortable with, going back-to-back, having all these stars come together. And a big blow is when DeMarcus Cousins went down with that torn quad injury. I think that that's going to come back to haunt them in the second round, because I believe they're going to come and win the series probably in 5 games to the Clippers. The Clippers did play very well. Actually, I said they win in 6. I think the Clippers will win a game in LA. But it was a surprise for me that they came back and beat them, being down by 31 points to a Stephen Curry team where he's Stephen Curry, So it was a surprise for that.
So from all the conversations that we've had, it seemed like you think the Warriors are still unbeatable, but now you're saying you think the Warriors maybe are beatable, and that probably has a lot to do with the Boogie Cousins injury. Sure. Michael, do you believe the Warriors are beatable?
Yeah, every team has got their Achilles heel. The Warriors obviously have had the same core, over the past 5 years have won them 3 NBA championships. But, again, blowing a lead like that, against the Clippers of all teams, like 31 points at home, you don't see that ever at the Oracle. I don't think we've ever seen like a performance like that from the Warriors team overall. Obviously, the 2016 NBA Finals are a whole different story because they blew a 3-1 series lead. But in a game like that, that kind of proves to me that, okay, maybe there's, the Warriors still have that team, to beat, but they are capable of having somebody take them down. They look a lot like the New England Patriots from this past NFL season. They may not have had the strongest regular season, but they still are going to be obviously a top threat there later down the road in the Western Conference playoffs. But I don't think, though, that they go back to the NBA Finals. I think they get taken down in the Finals.
So you've got them losing
in the
to
Western,
a team in the West, not even making the Finals. Malik, thoughts?
I mean, I think that they, like I said, they'll beat the Clippers in the first round, and when they come to the second round, they'll either play the Utah Jazz or the Houston Rockets. Preferably, I think that the Houston Rockets are going to win that series probably in like 5 or 6 games. And then when they get to the second round, they will have home court advantage. And that's something that the Warriors always knock themselves on going into the Oracle Arena. But as we've said this entire segment, they have not been good at home. And I don't know what it is. I think that, coming with free agency, you have Kevin Durant possibly having a chance to leave, Klay Thompson having a chance to leave. I don't think that Klay Thompson will leave Stephen Curry because of Splash Bros and the chemistry that they have. But Kevin Durant, I mean, you look at the interviews that he has with the press, sometimes he's just lackadaisical, like he's not really into the game. I mean, he gives credit to Patrick Beverley, but that's Patrick Beverley. You're supposed to be the best player in the world, and you're letting a team come back from 31 points down. That should not happen with the Clippers team. And then you go up in the second round against a Houston Rockets team with arguably the MVP with James Harden and Chris Paul.
This discussion again.
And then they have a lot of stuff going for themselves and confidence from losing in 7 games against this Golden State team last season in the postseason, because nobody ever took them to 7 games besides in the finals.
So
that is a good point, right?
Michael thinks, right, that is a great point. Michael thinks that they're going to lose. If they do lose, it'd be in the Western Conference Finals. You also think it would be in the Western Conference Finals to the Rockets?
No. It'll be in the second round.
The second round to the
because
Rockets.
they have to play them in the second round, and then the Western Conference Finals would be probably the winners between.
Either way, you both believe that it would be a team from the West, correct?
Yeah. A team not named the Warriors will probably win the West. We'll come out of the Western Conference.
Let's be clear about this though. If they do make it to the finals, and hypothetically speaking, if the Bucks make it there, the Bucks have a lot of stretch players that can actually do very well with this Warriors team. And I mean, you go all the way back to the 73-9 season when they set the record. The Bucks were the first team to beat that Warriors team.
I remember the 24-1 shirts.
24-1. I was at that game, so it was a lot of fun.
First team to beat them. So Giannis this season, Giannis Antetokounmpo is just outrageously good.
And again, hopefully we're going to have another month and a half to debate the possible matchup of either Warriors-Bucks or Rockets-Bucks.
Still the first round, too. You know, we still got
very early.
A few more rounds yet to go.
Yep.
So that's all we have for today's show. I'd like to thank Malik and Michael for joining me today. And a big thank you to our technical staff for all their hard work to make this show possible.
Thank you.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointer athletic information. Thank you for tuning in, and hey, don't forget, don't miss our special draft show next week. It's coming up on Tuesday.
Should be good.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be us three, Alex. We're going to have the whole crew here. So don't miss that. That's coming up next Tuesday. Until then, we'll see you. Thanks for tuning in right here on the Sports Hub.
Go Caps.